Every student takes a different path to reach their goals. Today you'll hear about a journey that started half a world away. It brought a family to Worcester to put down roots, and the pathway drew a young woman in that family to study at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. Her story is just one example of the journeys that bring talented achievers to WPI. And today we'll learn about the ways she tapped into the immersive experience available to students. In doing so, you'll get a glimpse of just a few of the opportunities students can choose from during their time here. Hi, I'm John Kane from the Marketing Communications Division at WPI, and welcome to this episode of the WPI Podcast. This podcast brings you news and expertise from our classrooms and labs. I'm here at the WPI Global Lab in the Innovation Studio with my guest today. Fatimah Daffaie is a biomedical engineering student. She's a member of the class of 2025 who is seeking her bachelor's and master's degree, and she's on track to get them both in just 4 years through WPI's accelerated BS-MS pathway. Fatimah, thanks for joining the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me today. So, hello, everyone.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and we're excited to learn more. Why don't we start with what brought you to Worcester? Can you tell me about your journey and how you ended up in Worcester?
I was born in Iraq with my family, and when I was about 10 years old, we left Iraq and we went to go live in Turkey for about 2 years. Turkey was a beautiful mix of East meets West, both cultures that now are part of who I am. Those are huge parts of my identity. My values, my culture, has been shaped by all of these 3 beautiful countries that I've lived in.
Awesome. So you're studying biomedical engineering here at WPI. When did engineering become a passion or an interest for you?
When I applied for the high school, I went to Doherty Memorial High School, which is here in Worcester, 5 minutes away from WPI. And I applied for a program called ETA, the Engineering and Technology Academy at Doherty. And it's exactly what it sounds. I did engineering for 4 years. And I still remember my first year where one of my first classes of engineering, our teacher gave us, I had a stapler and I had to break it apart, measure every little piece of it, and then build it on CAD. CAD is a computer-aided design software, and then animate it so it all comes together. I did that my freshman year of high school, and I never thought I was smart enough for engineering. I never really understood exactly what engineering is or what skills you need for it. But being in that program and having to do that so young, and having like a stapler has so many little parts, little pins, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I felt so smart. It was so beautiful. It was hands-on. And before that, I loved anything hands-on. I loved arts and crafts. I had my own arts and crafts club when I was in high school that I founded. And it was so beautiful being able to use my hands to make those things come to life. But what even more beautiful is that you could make it and then have other people use it. And I was becoming an engineer a little by little without even noticing it. And then my junior year of high school, I joined a program here at WPI called RAMP, and where I got to do early research in a professor here at WPI. His name was Chris Bliar. I worked with one of his PhD students, and I also got to work with an undergraduate assistant and another student from Doherty here at WPI. I got to work in a tissue engineering lab. I had no idea what tissue engineering is. I got to see cells under a microscope. And I knew what cells are, through academic work, the cell, the nucleus, and let's memorize it. But I never knew how to apply cells. I never knew what tissue engineering is. Making organs, a whole organ in a lab, that was something that I thought would happen the movies, in an alien world, not in a human world. And the fact that I got to participate in this research, I learned how to work in a lab, how to make a poster for a project, for a research project, work with a PhD student, culture cells, all these basic skills that started building my love for biomedical engineering.
That's so awesome. I mean, to have those experiences in high school how did you not run away screaming from that stapler experiment? Do you still try to take things apart today and recreate them and design them?
Not necessarily. I do think now that I'm in college and we have 3D printers that we could use at any time we want, you could make literally anything you want. Like your door handle is not working, design a door handle and make it. Recently, I bought my own 3D printer that I have at home right now, and now my mom loves me. I make baskets for her, decorations. I can even make like these puppets that kids play with. I have a sister that is 5 years old, so I made one for her. She loves it. But it's so beautiful that I can apply engineering skills to my everyday life. I can learn about 3D printing in my, biomedical engineering class, as in how to apply them to tissue engineering. But I can also use them at home for my little sister, for my mom, for me. Engineering is something we can apply in everyday life. Engineering is challenging, but it's not hard. Anyone can do it. I do not come from an engineering family, but again, it's not that much different from arts and crafts. You bring different things together, you experiment with different things, and you make a piece of art. With art, people look at it. With engineering, people are using it. And there's different forms, but both work and both have a purpose.
I love it. It's at the heart of so many things.
It is, exactly.
And it all started with the stapler.
Exactly.
You mentioned RAMP, one of the pre-collegiate programs offered at WPI for high school students. Is that what ultimately drew you to WPI to come here for your undergraduate and your graduate studies?
It was definitely one of the biggest reasons because, I did engineering 4 years in high school, but I never did biomedical engineering. When I was younger, I loved medicine and my dream was to become a doctor. I used to love learning about, surgeries, for example. Surgery is another art form of engineering, right? Because you have these surgical tools and it's hands-on and there's techniques of how you hold the surgical tools, how to use them, learning the anatomy of the human body, and how these surgical tools apply to it in a surgical procedure. And that is something that I do with, in my biomedical engineering classes. We could design surgical tools and use them. But we also have to understand a doctor's perspective, like the techniques on how to hold them. If they need them to hold a certain way because they're going to hold it for 8 hours for a procedure, we need to make sure it's comfortable. They can hold it in a certain way. So when I did RAMP, it was the perfect crossover between learning about engineering and biomedical engineering. I've done projects here. One of my classes, I worked on a project, and it was about making dental crafts for gingival recession surgery. So in that class, my project was learning about 3D bioprinting. And bioprinting is, again, it's exactly what it sounds. It's bioprinting of cells and shells and proteins to put them together to make an organ that can function. And that's what I started recognizing, that there's so many fields in biomedical engineering. And exactly what I did during RAMP, that was tissue engineering, that was biomaterials. And that was one field that I started stepping into. So it was definitely a huge factor of me deciding to come to WPI. I also got detoured at the WPI campus. I got lost. I still remember we had a Saturday training session for RAMP. And I come to campus, my dad dropped me off. And I still have this vivid memory of me at the WPI bridge. And I'm like, where am I going? And I'm lost and I'm scared. And I called one of the other girls on RAMP. And I was like, hey, what am I supposed to go do? This campus is large. And now that I'm a student here, I'm like, it's a small campus. It's not as big as I thought it was. But it was a beautiful experience. I got to meet college students. I still remember our training session was in Olin. And I sat there with these other college students, and I was like, oh my God, look at me.
And now you're here as a student. And I find a little bit of irony in the story that you talk about, because one of the activities that you're involved in on campus, one of the clubs and organizations, is Crimson Key. It's a group of tour guides that works with the WPI admissions team, and you'll see them on campus giving tours to prospective students and their families, obviously helping them find their way and not get lost, and also make some decisions about their future. Did getting lost on campus have anything to do with you joining that group, or if not, what drew you into being a Crimson Key tour guide?
It was like, actually, not getting lost on campus. The first memory I remember from wanting to be a tour guide is that there was this other girl at that time that when I was my first year, she was a senior. And I know she was a tour guide. And one time, me and one of my friends, we were just walking up a hill, and I saw her giving a tour. And I looked at my friend, and I was like, I want to do that. But like, it was just that. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm so passionate about this. I want to change people's lives. No, I was just really like, oh, this seems fun. I want to do it. And there are certain things in life that we do them without any, like, you don't have that deep passion for them in the beginning. You just think they're interesting and fun. You apply, and then you start doing it. And then I fell in love with it.
What do you enjoy about it?
It has been one of my most amazing experiences at WPI. I'm so grateful to be a tour guide. I love talking to families. I love telling them about my experience as a student, the challenges I've had, and just not even, of course, let them know about how WPI has impacted me, even before I was a WPI student, and then now as a WPI student, but also just telling them about what college is. I had an experience recently where I go into an elevator, and it was me and this other guy, and he looks at me and he was like, oh my God, I need to tell you something. I did not know him. And I was like, oh, what? And he was like, you are my tour guide. And I was like, wait, really? And he was like, yeah, I still remember there was a moment during the tour, like usually when I'm around the fountain, I'll go up on the bench, and I always make a joke like, now look at me, I'm taller. I can finally make an eye contact with everyone. And he was like, oh my God, your jokes are so funny. And just seeing how much fun you are having on the tour made me feel so comfortable that I wanted to apply here. And recently, the admissions office had an accepted students day. And again, a lot of people would come up to me and they were like, I toured with you like 2 weeks ago, or I toured with you like a year ago. And I'm like, you still remember me? Like, okay. They tell me that it had an impact on them, and it's beautiful.
Does that ever get old?
Not really, no.
So you mentioned the height joke, and we're not going to reveal any heights here today since it's audio. So you've got the jokes that you use. Are there any other sort of go-to stories that you like to tell every group, or is it a little bit different based on each group of prospective students and parents?
When I start my tour, I usually would, I introduce myself, of course, and then I ask all the students to tell me their name, where they're from, what major they're interested in, and I will say at the end, I know I'm going to be annoying, but I want you to tell me a fun fact about yourself. And I'll have even the parents tell me fun fact. And just that simple act of letting them tell me something about themselves, it builds a connection at the very beginning. My fun fact that I was
going to ask, what's your fun fact, and do you use the same one all the time?
I'll be honest, yes, I do use the same
all
fun
right,
fact.
What is it?
My fun fact is that I love eating pomegranates. And when I was younger, I got hospitalized for eating too many pomegranates.
What?
Yep. I ate 20 pomegranates in one day. So, allegedly, I have a world record that can eat a pomegranate in just 4 minutes, 21 seconds, and 2 milliseconds. So, Kenneth's world record, I'm here.
Oh my God. I can see where that would definitely get people to open up and feel comfortable. In many ways, the tour guide is an ambassador, which kind of leads me to one of the other things that you do. You do a lot of activities and are involved with a lot of clubs. Another group that you're involved with is engineering ambassadors in conjunction with WPI's Office of Pre-Collegiate Outreach. And the engineering ambassadors are there to encourage the next generation to pursue STEM careers and interests. Can you tell me a little bit more about what drew you to work with that group in particular and to be an engineering ambassador?
I joined at the beginning of my sophomore year. And Engineering Ambassadors is a program for K through 12 students to mentor them and teach them about STEM. So we give them presentations relating to topics on STEM, like robotics, snap circuits, windmills, bridges, prosthetics. So all different types of engineering that we do here at WPI, and that are, parts of what we do as engineers. And then we do a STEM activity with them, and then we take them on like campus tours to see WPI and what is the college experience. And that was my first year. There are 42 engineering ambassadors in the program, and there was an open position to join the executive board, which we call the club board in engineering ambassadors. And I also joined that on my very first year, which I still remember my first day in engineering ambassadors. I walked into the weekly meeting and I knew nobody. And you know that feeling every time you join an organization or anything and you don't know anyone and you feel lonely and you feel like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. You feel awkward. And then, I started doing engineering ambassadors, and I also was the social chair for engineering ambassadors. So I would plan weekly icebreakers with all the 42 engineering ambassadors every week during our weekly meetings. And even though it seems just like a social chair of an organization, like something random or something that you might not think too much about it, but it impacted me as a person. Because I had to plan icebreakers and fun events for 42 other people and work with them and get to know them. And through all these weekly icebreakers that I did, I got to see everyone get to know each other and bond with each other. And realizing that an event or a simple thing as an icebreaker that I did, that I planned, that I hosted, seeing it impact other people in my life and people I was working with, and seeing them get closer, I got to know them better. It was just very fulfilling. Same thing when I give campus tours. And again, for a lot of people, it's just a tour of a college. But to me, I saw people who were so tired, but then they got so excited all of a sudden and energized and wanted to talk and laugh and also make jokes. So seeing this impact that you can have on other people by doing something really simple. And that started leading to everything else in my life. With every organization I joined, even in my classes, I started raising my hand in class more. I would go up to after class and speak with my professors more. And simple things as just smiling. Or even the way you say hello. Like with doing Crimson Key as a tour guide. Everybody knows me from the way I say hello, everyone. Because I say it with so much excitement and energy. And again, it's something so simple, but this positivity impacts other people around you. I get to mentor new engineering ambassadors, and I have awesome job. I have fun. I get to teach younger generations. And again, even when working with the younger students, there are so many times we would have an event, and some of the students you could see, they do not want to participate. They're sitting there. They do not know what is happening. They're not interested. But then all of a sudden you go up to them and you start talking about something else, something not relating to the activity. And it's like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Guess what? I wanted this when I wanted to grow up, but I wanted this now. And let me tell you about the college experience and how we have so many cafeterias. We can eat at any time we want. And then all of a sudden they get excited. They get interested. And then it's like, okay, now let me tell you about the activity. And they start doing the activity, and they're like, wait, I got it. I can do it. And then they get excited, and then I get excited. And then it's just so fun. It's so funny. And being able to see any human being, if they're a middle schooler or if they're a parent on my campus tour, getting excited and wanting to talk and wanting a conversation and having that light bulb moment, that's the most beautiful thing ever to me.
It's so cool that you've had the opportunity to have those experiences here on campus while you're doing all the other things, studying and everything like that, to be able to make that work. That's awesome. It's also worth noting that you're a Great Minds Compass Scholar here at WPI. The program provides scholarships and ongoing supports for eligible students from Worcester who are first-generation college students. There's roughly 10 Great Minds Compass Scholars in the class of 2025. What has being a Great Minds Compass Scholar meant to you?
I come from a first-generation low-income family, and I have 4 other siblings. 2 of my siblings have been in college at the same time as me. So having this scholarship is the opportunity for me to keep going. And it's also the reason I've been able to do both my bachelor's and master's in 4 years. I'm very grateful for it, but also all of my advisor in the Great Minds program, we have, weekly meetings. And at times, being a first generation student, you need some extra resources or extra support. And they've been able to provide that. Going to these meetings and letting them know about challenges I'm going through, or letting them know how things are going, what classes I'm taking, and just always feeling that I have someone there for me. They even have helped us with, encouraging us to research opportunities, apply for internships. All of that is absolutely amazing. And it's a great support system that helped me through college. Even at times, just when things get hard and just need to talk about it, they have been there for me. And they have been there all 4 years. So it's been like a consistent support system I've had. Like 2 of the other Great Minds Scholars have also been my roommates. And then I ended up being some of my closest friends here. And just being able to be in a program with students who are from the same background as you, and you can connect and bond this way, has been a great opportunity. Also, I know how it's very stressful to pay for college. To get that help from the scholarship I'm very fortunate for it. It's been one of the best things that have happened to me, truly. Having the scholarship made me worry less about having to work extra hours, so I have to support myself. And I've been very, very fortunate for it. I am truly grateful to get that opportunity, both as a support system, but also money-wise to pay for my tuition. Our advisors have even done workshops about after graduation and discussing things like where we're going to be living or how to manage financial stuff. Discuss things about car, about insurance, health insurance. And again, being first gen, these are not discussions or conversations that I have been able to have with my family. So my Great Minds Scholar family, it's like a second family for me. For example, the Great Minds Scholar program gives us a base for a couple of summer classes, and that was one of the biggest reasons why I was able to do BSMS in 4 years, because I've taken classes the past 2 summers, and that have made me come to a point right now in T-term where I'm taking the same classes as everyone else, I'm not overloading, and I'm still graduating with 2 degrees.
That's awesome. You mentioned the BSMS, and we kind of mentioned that at the top. Basically, if for folks that don't know, BSMS, it's a pathway, an accelerated master's degree program. At WPI, the BSMS program is available to students in a variety of majors to get an accelerated master's degree while they're working on the bachelor's degree at the same time, so they can get their graduate degree sooner than a traditional full-time master's pathway. You can find out more about that on the WPI website. You mentioned the summer courses being one way to sort of do that. It's very impressive to me to think that you're able to get your bachelor's and your master's in 4 years. What were the other tricks or tools that you used to do that?
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you a story. So I remember last year when I was applying for internships, and I got interviewed by a company, and I was sitting in the interview, and the interviewer from that company was looking at my resume, and she was like, wow, you have so much experience. You're doing your bachelor's and master's in just 4 years. And I was sitting there, and I was like, she's looking at the wrong resume, but I'm not going to tell her. No, like, I actually deep down believe that. Because you never realize how much experience you've been having. But also, you never realize that at other schools, people don't have the opportunity to work in so many labs, to do research, and to do engineering before even college. And I've been fortunate to have all of that. And that program I did, like RAMP in high school, getting all these skills I got working in a lab, cell culturing. The professor I worked with then is my professor right now for my senior year project. So when it comes to like tools or tips or tricks, just take things slowly and jump on opportunities. Like I remember being a first year here at WPI, and it was so hard when you're first year to get an internship. So I did the ERE program, which is for early research and mentorship program. And I got to work in a lab in tissue engineering with a professor here.
EREE at WPI, that's an early research experience, an E-term, basically summer term that we offer here.
And I found out about this opportunity from my Great Minds Scholars advisors. So it was these little, like, jumping on opportunities, seeing something comes your way, or simple things like talking with your professors, reaching out to them. It all ends up building on each other, and those one day you'll wake up and you're like, wow, I'm experienced. Also, meeting people. That's the biggest help you can get in the world. When I was a freshman, I felt so intimidated and shy when it came to reaching out for help, which is something people never believe when I say, knowing my personality now. But no, I felt scared. I felt intimidated. Make an appointment with the academic services office. Go over your schedule. Make an appointment with your professors just to talk about career stuff, about your goals, about your plan. So use the resources that are available to you. The number one lesson that I have learned in college is on networking, making connections, and socializing is the number one way to get a job, to get an interview, to get a co-op. For example, when our career center here at WPI, when they host the career fairs, when I was a first year student, I would go to these career fairs, I would talk with employers, and they would not pay attention to me. They're like, she's a freshman. I didn't have as much skills, as much projects as some of the other people they were talking to. But you know what I did? I kept going to these career fairs. And they say, like, if you try something once or like twice and it doesn't work out, try to maybe change a different plan. But what I noticed from these career fairs is that over time, it's always the same employers coming. So once they start recognizing your name, your face, they're like, wow, they're committed, they're consistent. Yeah, I'm going to give them an interview. Consistency is the secret sauce to any success in life. And it's something that I think a lot of people lack in the beginning. But over time, you will learn it. But here at WPI, we also learn a lot of project-based learning skills. We learn how to work with a team. We learn how to work with other people. And believe it or not, a lot of people do not have these skills. We start taking labs and start doing projects as early as our first term here. So over time, putting all these projects, all of this, work and labs on your resume, being like, oh, I know how to use a 3D printer. I know this. All of these skills working in a lab. Later on, when you apply for internships and jobs, when employers see all of that experience, they're like, yeah, wow, I want to hire them. You know why? Because it takes less time for them to have to train you. And all of a sudden, you're going to do your job beautifully. And then all of a sudden, one day you will wake up and you're a billionaire.
Great advice and a good plug for the project-based experience here at WPI. You've talked a lot about the project-based learning that you just referenced, and throughout the interview about some of the interesting academic experiences you had here. Are there any other classes or projects that you've been especially proud of, or other things that really stand out to you as you look back at the 4 years here in the classrooms and labs?
I've enjoyed a lot of projects here at WPI. Again, I'm a hands-on learning person, and a lot of my classes have been absolutely amazing. One of my graduate classes that I'm in right now is called Biomaterials for Medical Devices, and I absolutely love that class. And one of the reasons is because of the way our professor teaches it. He's a very interactive professor. For example, our first day of class, he had 3 materials with him, and the class is Biomaterials. So before he even introduced himself, who he is or anything, he's like, hey you all, I have this material. And he started passing it around class, and then people were feeling it, and he would ask the students in the class, describe to me how it feels like. Describe to me how it looks like, or what do you think it is? And he would have the students pass it to each other, and he had 3 of them. And we would describe texture, material, color, strength, can we, rip it apart? And then later on, he had us put it in water and see how it feels after we put it in water. And at the end, he was telling us that 2 of these materials were animal tissue, and 1 was human tissue. And everyone was like, wait, what? We thought it was a piece of plastic. And it was just in an engaging, beautiful way. And just that little activity he did, I was like, wait, now I know what biomaterials is. Now things are clicking. I know what biomedical engineering is. And the beauty with engineering is that you can also teach yourself engineering. That's what I've learned from my professors. Because engineering is as simple as there is a problem and it needs a solution. And a lot of times you'll see the stories online of people who became billionaires from a simple product or simple idea, right? But engineering is simple as that people have a need, organizations have a need, and that need is a problem. And you take it, you research it, you go to the internet, do some research, read articles, and then maybe speak with people who need that need. Then you speak to experts in that field, and then you develop a solution. And then you give that solution to who? To the people who need it. And if they're like, wait, I don't know how to use it, well, maybe you need to go back and make sure they know how to use it. And then you keep experimenting until you have a product. And that's what I've learned from my professors. Engineering is simple.
Well, hopefully people will hear this and will be encouraged to go for it. Well, you've got all these tools that you learned at WPI through your activities and classes. So what's next for you after graduation?
Yes. So now after graduating, I'm going to be working here in Massachusetts, and I'll be working in the tissue engineering field. So hopefully making the next organs and kidneys and using the skills. That first time I looked under a microscope, those first time I learned how to self-culture ramp, those are some of the skills that I was able to get job interviews by. So yes, I'm very excited. I'm gonna, get to meet new people in the field and learn new things. And I truly hope to one day be able to impact the field and the patients who are in need of what I will be working on. And hopefully one day I can also keep giving back to younger students and to my community. Because that young exposure that I was able to get is what made me believe that I could become a biomedical engineer.
Obviously, commencement, graduation, it's a big moment in life, and it gives you a chance to sort of look back at where you've come from and where you're going. How do you think about it when you reflect on where you started and where you are now, coming from Iraq as a child, and now here you are in Worcester, your new hometown. What are you thinking about now as you get ready to graduate?
The beauty of college is that you get to meet different people from different countries, different states. different places in the world with very different experiences from what I had. And we all come here to probably seek the same degrees. We want to have the same impact on the world, and that's very beautiful. Learning about other cultures and other languages and how other people have grown up, what their high school experience was. That's something I'm going to really miss about college. When I meet younger students, when I do tours and I get to meet students, seeing what excites them about college, that's also beautiful to me. Every single involvement I've had here at WPI has meant so much to me. And I wish if I can put it into words, but I don't think words can truly show how much everything meant to me, how much it developed me as a person. It made me become, a better presenter, a better public speaker. And I learned a lot of simple things, like the way you smile and the way you say hello at people. You never know when someone is having a bad day and what impact you can have on people. Every time I started my tour, I started with hello everyone. And that simple way of how I said it, it made me feel excited. It made everyone else laugh and be excited. And laughing together, getting to know each other. So again, you never know who you'll impact in life. Be excited, be energized, be positive. I did not grow up with the best childhood, but right now, in the beauty of college, you get to design your life. As simple as, I'll decide when I go to class. I'll decide what classes to take. I can decide what career I want to have. I can decide what impact I want to have on people. Because I promise everyone who's listening to this, if there's a certain impact you want to have on the world, you can do it. Because 8-year-old me who came to this country, I had so many ideas and hopes. And at that time, they were just hopes. They had no meaning. But today, I'm living the dream I had as a child. And it's beautiful. So try to have the best interaction. You never know where your friendships will go. You never know what connections and bonds you'll have. But believe in what you want to do and impact people in the best you can. Because I promise a simple word or smile will go very far in other people. And I've learned so much about myself and what I want out of my life from the people I met here at WPI. And I did not do it alone. I did it with so many other people by my side. Again, my GMC advisors, the other GMC scholars, every engineering ambassador I worked with, every Crimson Key tour guide that I got to laugh with, and I got to give tours with. But also every other person I met on this campus, the students that I take classes with, my professors who were patient and taught me, and every other person I worked with here. I did not do it alone. I did it when I reached out for help when I needed it. I had so many people by my side, and those people are my heroes. They're like my fairy godmothers that I will never forget. And I'm excited to see where I go next.
That's awesome. I know you'll go far. Fatimah, thanks for taking some time to talk with me about your journey and your time at WPI.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. And it's been a pleasure about sharing my WPI experiences and where I'm going next. Thank you.
Fatimah Daffaie is a biomedical engineering student. She's a member of the class of 2025 who is seeking her bachelor's and master's degree. This has been the WPI Podcast. You can learn more about some of the great things our students are doing, our academic programs, plus clubs and organizations that help round out the immersive campus experience on our website, wpi.edu. You can hear more episodes of this podcast and more podcasts like this one at wpi.edu/listen. There you can also find audio versions of stories about our students, faculty, and staff, everything from events to research. You can also check out the latest WPI news on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Podcasts. You can also ask Alexa to open WPI. This podcast was produced at the WPI Global Lab in the Innovation Studio. I had audio engineering help today from PhD candidate Varun Bhatt. Tune in next time for another episode of the WPI Podcast. I'm John Kane, and Fatimah, I know you always say, hello, everybody. Would you like to maybe leave us with a parting message?
Bye, everyone.